Welcome to the Deep Dive. We aim to unpack complex ideas, giving you a shortcut to, well, being really well informed. Today we're diving into a concept that's pretty mind-bending, the Fox coherence density, or FCD. Think of it like this. It's a kind of spectrum. It visualizes the incredible energy needed to keep reality solid and organized. From basically nothingness, the theoretical void, all the way up to the everyday objects right here around us.
And what's really key to grasp here is that this FCD scale, it's logarithmic. So what that means is each step up represents a huge jump in the energy and the coherence involved. We measure it in joules per meter to the 6th power. Now, for you listening, what does that unit actually signify? Well, imagine it as the energy cost for a specific unit of organized information. The joules part is energy, obviously, and the meter to the 6th power. That represents how densely packed that energy is within a highly organized, sort of three-dimensional informational structure. It really maps out the entire spectrum of existence we know, from the most, let's say, diffuse states to the most solid, tangible things.
Okay, right. So let's unpack this, maybe starting from the least coherent end of things. We begin at absolute zero FCD. That's literally 0 JM6, a theoretical void, pure potential. Nothing solid can even manifest there.
Exactly, pure potential.
And just a tiny step above that, you have 10 to the negative 30th JM6. That's near zero SED. The sources say this signifies unrealized mass. These information states are incredibly diffuse, unstable. They hardly need any energy to flicker into existence. Could you maybe quickly clarify what we mean by information states in this context and LP signature?
Sure, absolutely. So information state, just think of it as the fundamental blueprint. It's the specific energetic pattern defining what something is, whether that's empty space or, say, a photon. It's the whatness at an energy level.
Blueprint.
Right, and the LP signature. That tells us how localized or how spread out that blueprint's energy actually is. Is it tightly packed or diffuse? So using that idea, even what we call empty space, the vacuum, it has an FCD value.
Right, it's not truly empty.
Not at all. Vacuum FCD is about 10 to the negative 15th JM6. There's inherent energy there, quantum fluctuations happening constantly. The LP signature is diffuse, yes, but it's consistently there. It basically forms the background scaffolding for space-time itself.
Okay, this is where it starts getting really, really interesting for me. As that FCD number climbs, we begin to see things we recognize, defined particles. Like at 10 to the negative 10th JM6, we get light particle FCD. Photons. The information state is coherent enough now to manifest as that massless, wave-like photon we know. Then another jump to 10 to the negative 5th JM6. That's electron FCD.
And here, the LP signature becomes much more localized. You can sort of conceptualize it as that familiar orbital cloud. This localization gives the electron its stable mass and charge, but notice the energy cost to maintain that stability is significantly higher now.
Okay, a much higher cost. And then we get to the heavy hitters, right? Protons and neutrons.
Exactly. They're at 10 to the 0 power, which is just 1 JM6.
Yeah.
And that's a massive jump in FCD compared to an electron. These are the building blocks for atomic nuclei, and they need immense energy just to bind their constituent parts, the quarks inside them.
Right.
Their LP signatures. Extremely compact, intensely energetic, and incredibly coherent. It really reflects those powerful forces holding them together in such a tiny space. You start to see this hierarchical structure in reality. Each FCD increase isn't just more energy, it seems to be a fundamental reorganization of information and forces.
So when these particles start coming together, how does FCD help us understand atoms? Like simple hydrogen is at 10 to the 1 power, so 10 JM6. More complex atoms like oxygen jump to 10 to the 2 or 100 JM6.
Yeah, and the FCD value for an atom isn't just the sum of its parts. It includes the energy needed to maintain that whole stable atomic structure, the nucleus bound together, and the binding energy holding the electrons in their orbits around that nucleus.
That makes sense. So the whole system's energy cost.
Precisely. And connecting this to the bigger picture, look at the water molecule FCD. That's at 10 to the 3 power, or 1000 JM6. This is a really critical point. What's truly fascinating, is that its FCD is actually higher than just adding up the FCDs of its 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just additive.
No, it's synergistic. It shows there's additional energy and coherence required simply to form and maintain those strong chemical bonds between the atoms. It points to how structure and stability emerge. It's a new level of energetic commitment, you could say. Those distinct atomic signatures are now connected by these coherent bridges.
Wow. Okay, so bringing this right back to our everyday experience then. How does FCD apply to the tangible things? Like this table right here, it makes you think, how much energy is this table using just to be a table right now?
A huge amount. Macroscopic objects like that table or your coffee cup, they operate way up the scale at 10 to the sixth power JM6, a million, and often much, much higher.
A million joules per meter to the sixth.
Yeah, and potentially vastly more. At this far end of the scale, these objects have immense FCD values. It represents the cumulative coherence of, well, uncountable numbers of atoms and molecules all locked together. Their LP signatures are incredibly densely interwoven. That creates the collectively stable, highly organized reality that we perceive as solid, as unchanging. The energy cost to maintain all of that, all those intricate information states making up our tangible world, is just vast. It's a constant energetic upkeep.
It's really quite something. The Fox coherence density graph, it just visually hammers home that everything exists on this continuous spectrum of coherence, and FCD is like the ultimate measure of how stable something is, how much energy it costs just to keep it existing. From literally nothing, the void, to this solid table. It's all on the same scale. What a spectrum.
It really is, and perhaps this leaves you with a question to ponder. If our tangible world demands this immense constant energy input just to maintain its coherence, its FCD, and if everything, from that theoretical void right up to the most solid things, is fundamentally just a manifestation of different levels of energy and coherent information, well, what might that imply about the underlying nature of reality itself? And maybe about how it's all being continuously, actively maintained?